Your life is more organized than it has ever been, and you are less connected to it than you've ever been. This is not a complaint you're allowed to make out loud. The systems are working, the goals are on track, the finances are clean, the morning runs on schedule. If you described your life to someone, the structure of it, the metrics, the way each week assembles itself, they would call it admirable. They might call it aspirational. There is nothing obviously wrong, which makes it almost impossible to explain why none of it feels like anything anymore. You solved the chaos, the scattered mornings, the financial anxiety, the sense of things slightly out of control. You fixed it. You built systems. You refined them. You removed what wasn't working. The alarm goes off at the same time every day. You don't hit snooze. You stopped doing that a long time ago. The water is on the nightstand because you put it there the night before. The supplements are in the weekly organizer. The first 30 minutes run almost entirely without decision, which was the point. You removed the friction. And somewhere around the third step of the morning, most days, there is a feeling that is hard to name. Not bad, not good, correct. The morning feels correct, which is not the same thing as feeling like anything at all. You finish it. You sit down. The morning ran. Every component executed. Nothing was wasted. And you feel approximately nothing about it. Not relief, not satisfaction, not the particular aliveness that mornings used to occasionally produce before you optimized them into a sequence. Everything is functioning. Something is missing. And you built the absence yourself, one small improvement at a time. There is a specific moment when optimization crosses a line. On one side of it, you are using a system to support your life. On the other side, the system has become the life. And the crossing happens so gradually, one small improvement at a time, one inefficiency removed, that you never feel the moment it happens. You just notice eventually that the map has replaced the territory, that you are living inside the tracking of your life instead of inside your life. You know your sleep score for last night. You know your 30-day average. You know what a late meal does to the deep sleep percentage, what alcohol costs you, which variables correlate with the mornings that feel better. You cannot remember the last time you woke up and just felt rested without checking the number to confirm it. The number has become the experience. You feel good or bad about the score, not the sleep itself. And that means you've inserted a layer of measurement between yourself and your own body's signals. And now you trust the measurement more than the signals. You've made yourself a stranger to your own experience, and you called it self-awareness. The same replacement happened with the spending tracker, the step counter, the goal list you review every Sunday in a meeting you hold with yourself, which is a sentence that should give you more pause than it currently does. Think about the last time you did something and just let yourself feel how it felt, without it becoming a data point, without some part of you already deciding whether it was worth the time, whether it fit the goals, whether it was the optimal use of that slot. That gap between having an experience and assessing an experience used to not exist. You built it yourself. You called it discipline. Every good thing in your life now comes with a silent ledger attached to it. The meal is also its nutritional breakdown. The walk is also its step count. The evening with someone you like is also its opportunity cost. Nothing lands cleanly anymore. Everything arrives already being evaluated. You turned living into a performance review, and you are both the employee and the manager, and neither of them is enjoying the job.
Think about what the optimization removed. Not the obvious things, the small ones, the ones that didn't survive the efficiency audit because they couldn't justify themselves in terms of output or forward motion. The slow mornings, the ones that used to happen on weekends where nothing was structured and the day assembled itself without a plan. Those mornings felt like something. They don't happen anymore. There's always a plan now, always something the morning is optimized toward. The meandering, following a thought somewhere that had no destination, reading something that wasn't on a list, taking a route you hadn't optimized, spending an hour doing something that would never produce anything. You used to do this. From the outside, it looked like nothing. From the inside, it felt like being a person. You removed the wandering, and it turns out wandering was doing something you didn't have a metric for. The spontaneous yes. Someone suggests something, last minute, unplanned, slightly inconvenient, not optimized into the week. There used to be a version of you that said yes without running the calculation. That version is harder to access now. The first response to an unplanned invitation is a brief automatic check. Does this fit? By the time the check is done, the moment has cooled. You go or you don't, but something has been subtracted from the exchange either way. Even when you say yes, you're arriving slightly late to your own life. The useless hobby. The thing you were never going to be good at, and that wasn't going anywhere and produced nothing except the specific, uncomplicated pleasure of doing it. You probably stopped. Maybe because it didn't fit anywhere meaningful. Maybe because at some point you applied the optimization logic to your own enjoyment and the hobby didn't pass. You optimized out the things that had no return, and it turns out some of those things were what you were living for. Someone asks what you do for fun. There is a pause that is longer than it should be. Not because you don't have an answer, you can produce one. You exercise, you read, you have interests. But the list sounds hollow as you say it because everything on it is pointing somewhere. The exercise is health, the reading is growth. The interests are either productive or being developed towards something. None of the answers are things you do purely because they feel like being alive. You have a full calendar and no answer to what you do for fun. Those two things coexist in the same life. You've stopped noticing how strange that is. Or someone asks if you're happy, and you run a quick internal assessment. Things are good, goals on track, no obvious problems, financial stable, health metrics solid, and you say, yes, things are good. Which is true, and which does not answer the question they asked. Because happy is not the same as functional, and you have become extraordinarily functional. There is a specific kind of loneliness that lives inside a well-functioning life. The loneliness of having removed everything reliable and discovering that what you removed was also everything warm. Think about the last time you felt genuinely lit up by something. Not accomplished, lit up, lost inside an experience, time disappearing, the particular aliveness of being completely somewhere. When was that? Not the satisfaction of a task completed, not the system running well, the thing that made you feel more yourself, not less, the thing that produced no output and cost you track of the clock. If you have to go back more than a few months to find it, that is the answer to how the optimization is going.
The optimization was not arbitrary. There was a period, maybe early in your career or during a stretch where things felt genuinely precarious, that getting control over your time and habits was not a lifestyle choice. It was how you kept things from falling apart. The structure was load-bearing. The system held up things that needed holding. And it worked. The system did what it was built to do. Things that felt chaotic became manageable. The optimization had a clear target and hit it. And then the precarious period ended, and the optimization didn't. Because by then it had become identity. You were the person who had their life together, who didn't waste time, who ran a tight system and hit targets and didn't leave things to chance. Dismantling any part of the system felt like dismantling a piece of who you were. So you kept optimizing into a life that no longer needed it, into a life that, if anything, needed the opposite: looseness, unstructured time, room to breathe and be unproductive without it meaning something failed. You kept tightening a jar that was already closed, and now you can't get it open. Here is what a fully optimized life actually costs. It costs surprise. The system is very good at preventing the unplanned. That's what systems do. But surprise is also where a disproportionate amount of aliveness lives, and you've engineered it almost completely out of your days. It costs desire, not ambition, desire, the uncomplicated wanting of something just because you want it, before it gets routed through the system and assessed. You still have preferences, but you can barely tell anymore whether you want something or whether you've decided it's optimal to want it. You've become very good at choosing correctly. You've almost forgotten how to choose freely. It costs boredom, which sounds like a benefit but isn't. Boredom is the state from which real curiosity departs. It's the gap where the unexpected thought arrives. You've filled every gap. Every commute has a podcast. Every spare 10 minutes has a task assigned. You haven't been genuinely bored in years. You also haven't had an unexpected idea in approximately the same amount of time. It costs the people who couldn't keep up with the system, the friendships that ran on spontaneity, people who made plans on the day, who moved unpredictably, whose company was good but inefficient. Some of those people drifted away, not because you decided against them, because the system didn't have room, and you didn't notice they were leaving until they were gone. The optimization made you more productive and lonelier, and you've been attributing the loneliness to something else. Look at your week, the actual calendar of it. Every filled block, every recurring task, every scheduled obligation, by any measure, it is a full life. There is so much happening. Now, find the part of it that feels like yours. Not productive, not responsible, not building towards anything. The part that is an expression of who you actually are, when nothing is being measured, when the only reason to do the thing is that it's what you feel like doing. How much of the week is that?
Most people won't describe this feeling as misery. They'll describe it as discipline, responsibility, having their life together. But somewhere along the way, a lot of people quietly stopped knowing what they actually enjoy anymore. Not what's productive, not what's useful, what they genuinely enjoy. What's one thing you used to do before everything became optimized? The system is running perfectly. The metrics are good. The goals are on track. And somewhere inside the perfectly running system, there is a person who cannot remember what they actually enjoy, not what they're supposed to enjoy, what they would choose if nothing was being optimized, if no one was watching the numbers, if efficiency wasn't the point. That person is still in there. They're just waiting for a gap in the schedule.